All right. Well, welcome everyone to our breast cancer awareness webinar. I'm kind of excited because last year I was able to do a little bit of a short webinar, and this year I have two special guests. So that's definitely growth for us in the Dance Vid Hub. We have both a someone that I know where I work and someone that I know in my personal life. So thank you for being here. For those of you that don't know who I am, because I know we have some special people in here, guests, my name is Catherine Farfan-Selim. I am a fitness coach and am the host in the Dance Fit Hub, which is a free Facebook group for women over 55. However, I do have some under 55ers in there because, hey, one day we are all going to be 55. I'm not that far from there yet. So, yeah, getting there really close. But again, I'm so grateful to not only our special guests for being here, but also to all of you for taking the time out of your evening to support these two beautiful women. Now, breast cancer is something that is personal to me because I've lost so many loved ones to cancer. My great grandmother passed from colon cancer. My father-in-law had Hodgkin's, and then my grandmother to pancreatic cancer, even though she did have breast cancer earlier on, and my grandfather recently. So this disease has impacted my life in ways that are really, really hard to put into words. And I'm sure that all of you here have, in some way or some form, also been impacted as well. So as I mentioned, my grandmother was diagnosed when she was 68, which is pretty late. At least I thought back then. And she did survive, but she did go through the chemotherapy. And at the time, I was much younger. And I just remember thinking, because it was something kind of new at the time, I remember thinking, wow, like that statistic of 1 in 5 women, like sounds like it's pretty true, right? Because I never thought that we would be affected that way. And you guys have heard me talk about my grandmother and how fabulous and this strong, role model that I had. And to see her go through that was really tough. And then she did pass away later, but it was due to pancreatic cancer. So either way, both experiences were not good, right? And now the number has shifted to 1 in 8 women. So when I hear that number, and when you hear that number, what it should make you think about is literally look at your friends, your circle of friends that you have, your closest friends, the people that you hang out with all the time. 1 in 8. Think of that number. Think of your coworkers. Think of your family members, right? The women in your family, 1 in 8. So this is pretty real. It's a real thing that is happening. And I'm so glad that actually there has been a lot of research that has helped along the way. And now we have earlier screenings and women who are now going for their mammograms much earlier than in previous years. So, and then recently, one of my dearest friends who's here this evening, who is younger than me, is now battling breast cancer. And, these types of scenarios for me are just like waking me up, right? If you will, right? It's so easy to go around life and say, oh, so and so, yeah, oh, that's sad, right? But when it's somebody that's really, really close to you, it kind of puts things in perspective, right? And so today I am honored to have two incredible women here with us. I have Marie, who is a breast cancer survivor, and Melissa, who is my dear friend, of course, and a breast cancer warrior, currently undergoing chemotherapy and going along her own personal journey. And they have agreed to share their personal journeys and insights. And I know that their stories are going to resonate with all of us. So, I'd like to first start with Marie. We still have people coming in, which is a good thing. Let me get Marie. There you go. Okay. Hey, Marie.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
good. How are you doing?
Good. So, Marie, as I mentioned, is a breast cancer survivor who has bravely navigated this challenging journey and come out stronger on the other end. So, Marie, we are so excited to have you here today to share your experience. And I wanted to start by asking you about your journey, of course. What was the most challenging part of your battle with breast cancer, and how did you overcome it?
It's hard to define one challenging moment. Certain things, different stages had different challenges. It was hard um, getting the message. The radiology, the radiologist who interpreted um, the X-ray called me at work,
Hmm.
and I was in a cubicle. I was in a group cubicle, and I got to hear it on the phone, surrounded by coworkers, and I could not make it out to the hallway fast enough. I was trying to hold it together. That was hard. And then trying to decide when I should tell everybody at work and trying to act normal as long as I could. Um, Getting in front of it was hard. I'm a survivor of triple negative breast cancer, and I suspect your young friend might also have that because that tends to be something associated with younger women. Um, so it was really hard to get in front of it.
And
I had to go
time,
test over test, huh?
how old were you at the time?
I was 54.
Okay.
Fortunately, I was in the habit of doing my monthly self exam, and I discovered it that way and then went in for my mammogram. And it's triple negative is very aggressive, very fast growing. Um, it was stage 1B. I tried to have a lumpectomy, and they couldn't find clean edges. I had to go in for an MRI guided biopsy, and they discovered that it had already spread, and they had to take the whole breast. So, and that's when I finally got in front of it when they did the mastectomy. I don't know, chemo. By the time that I got to chemo, um, I decided that it was just time to face the rawness of the illness, um, and just make it through. That said, I was reflecting on this. Um, all of that said, the hardest part of the journey for me was recovering from the chemo fatigue. That's super hard because you have to lean in, you can't rest. The more you rest, the worse it gets. So you have to, it's counterintuitive. You really have to keep going even if you're tired and everything hurts and your balance is off. It's interesting.
And so, how many years has it been since?
Um, So that's that's always an interesting question because nobody, everybody that you talk to in the profession takes a different date in your recovery for survivorship. Um, I decided to count it for my mastectomy date because that's really when I got in front of it. So it will be 6 years in November.
Hey, congratulations.
So, yeah, with triple negative, the first 2 years are very critical. It's most likely to return the first 2 years. Um, then after that, it's the 5 year mark. And then anything after 5 years, it's very unlikely to return for quite a while.
Okay.
So,
Now, how do you think your experience changed the way that you view your health and your life now?
um, so I'm still committed to moving it or losing it. That's something that I came to embrace in my 40s that I've carried forward.
Mhm.
And the fight, the pushing against chemo fatigue, reinforced the importance of keeping to move. And then I've had to fight to regain my balance and my
Mhm.
stamina. So this is all a really important business, a building block for me. The way that it changed my life, how I view it, is it totally changed my perspective. It made me reevaluate all of my priorities. I had planned to work until I was 68. Um, while I was on chemo, I sat and figured out the soonest that I could retire that would make sense for taking my government pension and my savings. And I retired at 56. Every day's a gift. Tomorrow isn't promised.
It's true. Now, would you say you had a decent support system or
Mm.
you did?
Yeah, I had a really important circle of friends that helped me. Um, I didn't I shared with my immediate team at work what I was going through, and I asked them to respect the privacy of my health.
Mhm.
But I basically, thank God, I had hoarded all of my sick leave. I was off for 3 months with chemo,
Okay.
and after a while, people figured it out, and I started getting phone calls at home from colleagues at work. And I discovered very quickly why I didn't want to tell people unless I truly knew them, because I didn't have energy to support anybody. I only had energy to get through the journey and just sit and console a coworker who was crying about my cancer. You know, cry me a river.
Right. I was going to say that can
It was a
be
drain.
really emotionally draining for you. You're
Yeah,
going through the experience and they're just feeling for you, but it's like, I don't have time for that. I need time.
no. If I don't have time to cry for myself, I'm not going to comfort you about, I mean, I appreciate, but what I need is your support, not your pity.
Exactly.
I need your strength.
Yes. And I think that's something that, like I mentioned before, you feel for, your friends or your family member that is going through it, but you are not going through it, right? So it you can't expect the patient, right, to be there consoling you and say, "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you." When you have mixed emotions, you're going through a whole mishmash of feelings, so much so that it's like I know I have some clients that told me that, it's like you just want to shut the door. You don't want to talk to anybody because you're going through a lot. It's just a lot between you, like you're saying, confronting the reality of the situation, the reality of what it entailed from this point on, the reality that there could be an end, right? So there's a lot going on emotionally, physically, and mentally throughout this process. So thank you so much for sharing that because that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted you to share the rawness of it all, right? So that other women that are listening now can really understand that, to say, oh, so and so had cancer or so and so has cancer, there's a lot involved in all of that. And just, saying, I'm going to be there for you. I can do whatever you want, whatever you need, I'm there, whatever you need. And to understand that sometimes what you need is just nothing.
I need strength.
Yeah, I
I
need
need strength. I don't need you to
physical
say,
strength.
tell me what you need. I need
Exactly.
you to say, I'm bringing food by on this day, and I don't need it once a week. Just drop something off. Tell me when you're going to drop it off.
Exactly.
My husband always took me to my chemo and to my doctor's appointment, so that I didn't have to worry about a ride.
Mhm.
But don't ask me to tell you what I need because I won't tell you. I've
Yes.
got other things to do besides helping you organize your life at this point. I had so many doctor's appointments, and then there's my own cycle of feeling sick and not myself
Mhm.
after the infusion. I had every day charted out, things that I had to do that day, and a lot of it had to do with cancer schedule and not trying to organize somebody else's life. My hands are full.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
battle.
Yeah, it is. It really, really is. So what for women in our group or for the women that are listening now who are perhaps maybe newly diagnosed or just beginning their journey or maybe thinking that they're too young, right, to even start thinking about it, what
No.
advice would you give them?
Um, okay. If you have just been diagnosed, the most important thing that you can do is get in front of it. Just confront it and get it moving. Get in front of it. It's not going away. You can't wish it away. You can't hope it away. You can't say, well, maybe it's just a little lymph node that's swollen in my breast and it'll go away. No, go confront it. Go name that beast and get your arms wrapped around it. And keep your sense of humor because my God, it's ridiculous. The most ridiculous thing to me going in for that MRI guided biopsy was they wanted me to press round breasts down into square holes. And it's like, who designed this? The same person who designed bras? I mean, it's almost gallows humor, but if you can kind of step outside of the trauma that you're going through in this journey, you can see some really wild things. I mean, good Lord, I had a radiologist. I won't go through the gruesome details of how they mark where the lump is to be removed in a lumpectomy. But while he was marking, I looked at this guy and I said, "So, what do you tell people that you meet at um, at happy hour that you do for a job?"
I know.
Right?
I mean,
My God, what kind of a conversation is that? What do you tell people you do? Because this is pretty mind bending.
I am. Yeah, definitely. Well, Marie, I thank you again for sharing a little bit about your journey. I'm sure it's just a little piece of everything that you went through, and I'm so glad that you are still here with us and that you're fighting the fight and that you're just showing up every day, like you said, because tomorrow is not promised. And it's all about getting your priorities in order and just living day by day. So
Do
thank
your
you.
monthly do your monthly breast self-check. It could happen at any age. My aunt, my mother's sister, was 36 when she was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow. Wow.
1970s.
Yikes. Yeah, and that was before all of this, before all of the research and everything else that's been done.
Yep.
Thank you again.
Thanks
Uh,
for this opportunity.
Thank you for being here. All right, so next up, I'm going to spotlight her. There we go. We have my dear friend Melissa, who has been a true warrior. Currently going through her own journey, and um, I'm sorry, as I'm letting more people in that I know are here for Melissa. Um, Melissa is so she is one of my my best friends, I'm gonna say, and I don't have best friends. So and she knows this. So she is very close to my heart. Melissa, I have to don't cry. I have to admire your courage and strength. And I'm sure those of you that are on here that are her friends and family, you know that you are also with me when I say this, that admiring her courage and her strength, and just so grateful that you agreed to be here with us to talk about your experience, because I know that it has not been easy. I did, just so that all of you know, I did approach other members from my group, and some of them, said, I'm really sorry. I would love to help you out, but I just can't talk about it. I'm not there. So when Melissa said, yeah, I'll do it, I was like, yes, okay. So, Melissa, what has helped you stay mentally and emotionally strong during your treatment?
My family, my support team. This is very raw for me still, very new, so bear with me. But my army that I have behind me has helped me near and far, because that not only here, where we live in Florida, but from New York, all around the world that, you know, support me, call me, send me care packages, have me in prayer. That is what keeps me going.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about your story, because I know Marie shared hers.
So I started my first mammogram was at the age of 40, and it was BIRAD 0. I just was told I had dense tissue. Then I had one at 41 and at 42. Last year I had one in July 28th of last year. It was a BIRAD 0, just dense tissue, nothing was found. Fast forward 10 months later to May 27th, Memorial Day of this year, I was by the pool and I was just leaning a certain way, and I was just, I felt something in my right breast that I've never felt before. And I usually do self-exams in the shower. This is 10 months after my mammogram and sonogram. And I go to my husband and I tell him, and he's like, yeah, this is not normal. I go see my aunt, which is a registered nurse. She says, yes, you need to get this checked out immediately. The very next day, I go to my PCP. She refers me. Now, my insurance, because I had one done 10 months prior, didn't want to cover it.
Mhm.
She put a stat on it, and within a week, I had one done. She calls me on a Monday, June 9th. I was at my house surrounded by family again, and I received the news. She said, you need to see an oncologist ASAP. Your mammogram came back BIRAD 5, which is highly to be malignant. So I said, okay. That day, my sister was here from New York. She just happened to be here. And we got on the phone, on the internet, and we found three of the best within my network. Because again, remember, insurance plays a big part of this.
Mhm.
Of course, my husband's like, we're going to New York because that's the best of the best, but this is where my home is. This is where my family, my life is. So of course I wanted to be here. We found what I feel and still feel very strongly about is the best of the best that I've encountered with Orlando Health. We found a doctor, set up an appointment for the following Monday within a week on my birthday. I went in with my mother and my aunt to see him and my husband, and he scheduled me for that Wednesday to have a biopsy. Within 2 days on my charts, I received the test results. I didn't want to open them until that Tuesday that I was seeing him. Within this week and a half, I had already 6 visits to different doctors, from scans to sonograms to radiation, MRIs to the dyes of the MRIs, just different types of MRIs and CT scans and PET scans. But my mom was here and she was leaving the next day, and she's like, I think it's just, we should open it up together as a family. I was sitting on the sofa, so we gathered at my house as a family, and she opened up, and I think that the look on her face when she had to look at me, that she felt defeated to tell her child that it was malignant.
Mhm.
I think I felt the rug just get taken from under me, and I just fell. And all I said was that I didn't want to die. My husband grabbed me and he said, you're not gonna die. You're not gonna die. He said, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this. And then everything else was a blur after that. Because I guess I hyperventilated, and I was just crying and screaming. My sister has a best friend that works at a pathology lab, and she was looking at the results, and not saying this is the best, but if you had to choose a cancer, were her words, breast cancer would be one of the ones you would want, because there's just so much more research, so much more medication.
Mhm.
From what we knew at the time, all I knew that it was malignant. We didn't know anything else. Fast forward to seeing my doctor. He called me that Monday because I had more exams to get done. I saw him that Tuesday, and because I was already past the shock, that Tuesday was more of a informative visit. My husband, my sister, my dad, my aunt came with me. So once again, I had my support system. So it was just an informative visit. There, I was told I had stage 2B triple negative. And he was very proactive because he already knew that I had known that it was malignant. He already scheduled me with an oncologist within an hour after seeing him. So I didn't have to wait to schedule to see another doctor for another week or two. They were very proactive. Like everything happened within like 2 weeks. My life just changed from finding it to speaking to biopsy to finding out, diagnose to seeing an oncologist within 2 weeks. So I think that was pretty fast happening at that moment. Now sitting back, I'm like, wow, like I did all this and I didn't have a chance to grasp the severity of it, which is now what I'm going through, where I find myself when I'm alone, that I just sit and I cry and I question. And I've learned now not to question, because he's in favor of where my journey's going. So my oncologist, because she knew I had some pain on my shoulder, she wanted to rule out anything. And then from there, they did a PET scan, again, from head to toe, a bone scan. And there they found out that it had spread to 2 small lymph nodes, very, very small. The original tumor was a 5.2 centimeter from the flesh. Internal, it had lots of rigid edges. It was a 3.5 When they did the bone scan, they noticed I had an 11.2, small ones, 11.2 centimeters, which are very small, but they did spread. My doctor was like, it's common for it to spread to lymph nodes around the area. So they had to change the numbers to a stage 3B. They said not to harp on the numbers because that's what gets you mentally
Correct.
drained, but to just now we're going to focus on a plan. They did go very, very aggressive. So from there, they set up an appointment to get a port put in. I had a port placement done, which I had my sister fly in, my husband came, my mother was there, once again, my support team. And I had it done July 15th. July 12th, I'm sorry, July 15th, I started my first chemo session of Taxol. I just completed my 12th round of Taxol this past Monday, which was very, very, very hard on my body. This is the raw me. It took some time to be able to accept this look because I'm swollen, I have no hair, no eyelashes, eyebrows, but this is me. This is the temporary me for now. And I'm embracing it. So I'm gonna be on a break for a week, and then I start the new medication, which is 4 of the Red Devil, which they call it the Red Devil chemo. I get them every 3 weeks. Then I'll have a week break, and then I'll go in for 9 more sessions of immunotherapy. Well, they'll do scans after my 4th session is over January 6th. I did miss 3 because I had my platelets were low, my cells, because that does attack my good and my bad cells. I wake up some days where I don't want to get out of bed and people around me don't understand. And it's not that I'm ungrateful or I don't want to answer text messages or I don't want to, like Marie said, it's not that you don't want to be grateful or thankful. It's just you're worrying about you at this moment. And lots of people turn around and say, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? Just do, and we appreciate.
Mhm.
Like my mom comes and she just brings bags of food and Tupperware, eat it. If you don't want to eat it, it's there. But I cook so you don't have to cook. I've had friends like Catherine do craft knife for me just to get me out of a funk because I have a village. Well, I don't say a village, I have an army. And I'm so blessed to have them. But sometimes I feel alone. And Maria, I don't know if you can understand where I'm coming from. You would have people that text all day long, but you still feel lonely. And you still feel alone. And you start questioning and doubting and saying what ifs, So cancer has no age limit. What I recommend is you continue to do the self-exams, and just know that it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't discriminate, but I don't think I would be where I'm at this moment, being able to speak to you guys without the foundation that I have, which is my husband. If it wasn't for him, and I know he's listening, I don't know where I would be, babe. And I love you dearly. My children, my sister, which has been my other rock, my parents, my siblings, and all my extended close friends and family. I just truly, truly thank you. And all the abundance of gifts, just knowing that people are thinking of me and just reflects on what a person I am to everyone else. So I just truly thank you. This is a long journey. It's far from over, but I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter and I'm going to fight to the end because there's so much more for me to do. I have 2 young men. I have an army behind me that to count on me, depend on me. And I have just so much more life in me that this is not the end. This is not the end of me. I say it every morning. I'm healed. God has healed me, He's cured me, and I no longer have cancer. I'm just going through this journey to give this testimony for women that are going to be going through it alone, and I'm going to be there to back them up and help them.
Well, everything that you said was absolutely so powerful. I'm trying to refrain from trying to hold it together back here. But yeah, I think Marie wanted to say something, right?
I do a couple of somethings. Do you see an oncology therapist?
There is one available for us. I actually at our church, there's a lot of people that pray for us and pray over us, and I do speak to a lot of women, and I see someone from the center where I go for chemo that she just finished her. So I speak to a lot of hands-on women that have gone through this, but there is counseling and
Okay.
the navigator that I have, the nurse, which I actually saw the other day, gave me some stuff to research that we can see as a family as well, to be able to speak to people. But like I said, I am blessed. Like I have an uncle that's a psychologist that we all the time, and he just listens, and so I have people that I'm able to talk to in that profession as well.
Yeah, I found it very important. One thing that I learned, and you may already have learned yourself, is that chemotherapy um, um, changes the chemical makeup of your brain, and that can contribute to some of the overwhelming feelings and the depression that you might be going through. I ran into that too.
I call it chemo brain. That's what
Well,
I've been calling
also
it.
that, and that was my second thing, because I took a class on they call it brain fog, where I took the class. It's Life with Cancer is an organization up in Northern Virginia, which is where I went through the majority of my journey. The healing happened in the Florida end, but it was a good class on brain fog. And since you're about to go in with the Red Devil, I didn't have the Red Devil. I chose not to. My I was given two choices, and I wanted, because I had two choices, I wanted to have something that had less of a chance of giving me really bad chemo brain. But I took the class to learn more about it. There are things that you can do to help minimize the brain fog while you're going through chemo. Keep doing math, keep reading difficult things. And I took an art class once a month to learn a new kind of art that kept my brain engaged in a different way. Art was a lot easier for me to deal with when I was on chemo, but it kept my brain active, learning things.
Yeah. Yes.
And
I'm
plus, it's a
still
positive.
working. I'm still working. I'm
Yeah.
into FMLA, and I'm blessed that I've had coworkers. I work for the school district that have donated days, so I'm not like working without pay. Like I had 27 days with the days I've had plus 27 days donated to me. So I take off Mondays for chemo. Tuesdays and Wednesdays I go into my office. Thursdays I rest, and Fridays I work from home. So I'm still working full time.
I don't know how you're doing that.
And I have a
It
side
knocked
business
me down.
that I have a side business of event planning. So I'm not as active physically, but I have a team that if I had something already planned, the show must go on for the client. I've had people come together, my village come together, I mask up and I stand in the background, and they've just executed the entire event for me. So
That's
I
amazing.
try to stay pretty active. But as the sessions progressed, I saw myself, decrease in being active, and just trying to rest more. And, my husband would say, come on, I just need you out of bed. Let's just do one lap, a lap around the neighborhood. I physically couldn't. Mentally, I wanted to, but physically, I couldn't. But, lately I'm like, I just have to let me rest the one day during the weekend. The other days, try to stay active as much as I can so that I don't fall into that trap.
Yeah, it catches up. I know exactly what you're talking about. When I was in chemo, it knocked me down.
Yeah.
And I was living behind a veil. The brain fog felt more like a veil, like I was looking through the world, at the world through a veil.
I just
Uh,
said that the other day, like that I feel like the world is going and I'm standing behind.
mhm.
I'm like I'm being left behind.
So
Mm,
my question to the both of you would be, what do you wish more people understood about the experience?
Patience. Just patience. I feel just patience with us because my husband would say to me, like and he tries to accommodate every need for me as much as possible. My parents do, my sister, my children, my friends. It's just patience because what you feel might be good for me, we just don't want to be bothered with it at the moment.
That's good. Yeah.
I'm thinking you just touched on something. Because the one thing that always tasted good when I was on chemo, and so few things tasted good, the one thing that was always good tasting was chocolate. It was proof that God loved me.
That metal taste with the Taxol, just I don't, my last
Yeah,
session was Monday, so hopefully I don't have that feel anymore.
I was on the Taxol.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's horrible. And
Oh,
the hands in ice and your feet in ice for 45 minutes.
I wish that they had told me about ice because I have neuropathy in my feet.
Thank God, with the grace of God, they did tell
Thank
us
God.
that. And my sister went out and bought me the ice gloves and the ice booties. And we would freeze them all week. And then right before they started the drip, I put my hands, it felt like I was in an igloo and I'm shivering. It hurt my hands like frostbite, but it helps. I haven't experienced, and I said Monday was my last treatment of Taxol, and I never experienced any of that feeling.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
When you get to the 4 to 5 year mark, they will transition you into survivorship, and whatever side effects
Mhm.
were your trade off with chemo in exchange for your health and being alive, they'll start to work with you about your side effects. And that's been a positive part of survivorship because they started to aggressively take care of my neuropathy, and it's amazing. And anyway, I've been working on my balance stuff. It's a lot better than it was.
Good. I've tried um, acupuncture already twice throughout this journey. But it's just difficult with appointments. Like I've done 82 appointments since
Hmm?
June 3rd. 82 appointments.
Yeah, and somebody
But
says,
I'm
well,
counting, but
what can
82 appointments.
what can we do? Just tell us
Yeah,
you know what, you go have that MRI guided biopsy from me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If only, but yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You want to help me, don't even ask me, just bring me food, make a meal, because
I
this
have,
is this is why you don't have
that's it.
time.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I think what I've learned, well, from, being there and listening to Melissa's stories, because I call them so every week she has a new story, a new report for us. So listening to her and then now listening to you, Marie, is that, and having, I mean, been there with my grandmother during her pancreatic cancer, is that if you have never been around cancer, um, you think that it's the kind of thing like, oh, they have cancer, and after the chemotherapy, like that's it. They're not going to have cancer anymore, right? Or after they go through radiation, like that's it. Okay, they lose their hair. Oh, that's all the things. And then that's it, they're cured. It
Mm.
does not happen like that. And so I think what I wish that more people as caretakers, right, and as family members would understand is that for us, the experience goes by much faster than for the patient. For the patient, it's like every day feels like a year. And that the experience doesn't end, like Marie is saying to you, even after her, now that she's in the survivor category, there's still effects from all of the therapy that cured, right? Technically cured one thing,
I
right?
call it remission.
Yes,
I've had triple negative. That
exactly.
stuff's nasty.
So you think you're being cured for the main thing, which is
Mhm.
great, yes, of course, but there's so many side effects and things that are lingering on even
Mhm.
after that. So to
Yes.
say to someone, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're done. So glad you're done. You rang your bell, you did all the things." That's when they need you the most. When you were saying to them, what can I do for you? Whatever you need, that's when they need you. It's that process. Because they did all the hard work already, right? So now they just kind of need for you to get them to the next phase, to the next level, which is a month by month kind of process until, they can say, like, I have a client who was going to be a guest today, until you can say, I've been 30 years cancer free, right? And she just had her anniversary for 30 years cancer
That's
free.
awesome.
So it is possible. But even speaking with her, the process is long. And even though it's been 30 years, every year it's like anything that comes up is like, could it be, oh my God, my arm is hurting. Could it be this? Could it be that?
Hmm.
There's always that what if in the
Hmm.
back of a survivor's mind. So just keep that in the back somewhere. Those of you that are caretakers, or like I said, you have family members that are going through it, or friends that are going through it, because Melissa has a great support system. Marie sounds like she had a nice support system, but as Melissa is saying, we both have met women that don't have a support system. And so, Melissa, tell us a little bit about this foundation that you are establishing to support others going through it alone.
Thank you. So during this journey, I'm not gonna go into depth, but during this journey, I've always believed in God. God is always first, and then family. But I've gotten closer and I've grown closer to God. My faith has grown. And I was in the car one day, and going to chemo. I'm so blessed to have an entourage, I say, because that's what the nurses say. Who did you bring today? Who are we meeting today? Mom? Oh, grandma, great grandma, your husband, this one, that one, because there's always someone coming with me. I've never gone alone to any of my sessions. Not one appointment have I gone alone. So I'm blessed with that. But being in these suites that you share with another patient,
Hmm.
you see that they sit there alone with no one. So I was in the car one day driving and I was listening to music, and the words that kept coming to me was foundation, foundation. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I called my husband and I'm like, I think I need to open up a foundation. And he's like, a what? I'm like, a foundation. So my shirt says my journey, hashtag M Star Strong. Everyone that's on my village, on my team, stands behind me, has their shirt that says her journey is our journey, hashtag M Star Strong. So I was talking with him and I'm like, I think I need to open up a foundation, the M Star Strong Foundation, to help women that are alone fighting this battle without the support system that's needed, because you need support. In this, you can't fight this alone. There's no way that you're able to go through this journey as strong. And I feel that I'm strong and I can, my husband tells me I'm his warrior, and I still feel defeated sometimes. So I could only fathom what women that have no husband, have no friends, they don't have the support system that I have going through this journey. So what I established was the M Star Strong Foundation, which is going to help women that are alone, women that, because obviously it'll be funded with donations, that they don't have the supplies that are needed. Like you didn't know, Marie, about the hands and the gloves for your neuropathy. You know, the knowledge I'm learning as I go through it. And who best than us that have gone through the trenches, have gone through it to be able to help someone that is starting this journey. And of course, I'm going to different webinars and to try to. I've signed up to different ones to be able to speak to be able to hear speakers and just learn more about the disease and be able to donate and pay it forward to those women that are not as fortunate as I am. So that will start out January 2025. But I do have I do have I have an Instagram that I opened up, and I do have an email. So if anybody just wants any email, it is the M Star Strong Foundation at gmail.com, and I can give you the information that I've started so far, but it will come into full effect January 2025.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really do love that because it's such a nice way to kind of pay it forward, and to, like you said, to do the hand holding that so many people do need, especially like you said, you've both gone through it. So, the sincerity of it all, like, I know how you're feeling, is actually sincere because you've been there, right? Whereas somebody else, maybe, you can say what you want, but you don't understand what I'm going through, right? So definitely, I think you're going to have a lot of success with that. So I definitely hope that all good things come from that foundation.
Opening up the Instagram, M Star Strong Instagram. It's a public Instagram which starts my journey from the very beginning back in June. I had a young woman reach out to me that now she is in her reconstruction stage, triple negative, stage 2. She went through all the chemo, the radiation. I mean, she went through it all. She guided me from my first step because she found me on my page.
Right.
If I can make that difference in someone else's life, I've done my job.
Good. Well, thank you both so much for sharing your journeys with us. But before we go, I do have a little bit to talk about with all of you, and I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of debunk a breast cancer myth. So I'm not sure if anybody on this call has had breast cancer. If you have, or if you're currently going through it, definitely put it in the chat, because that I would love to kind of connect with you and hear your story as well. But so the myth is that recovery, right? And recovery is what I have a little more experience with as a personal trainer and a fitness coach. So I wanted to, like I said, debunk this myth that you can't exercise after a breast cancer diagnosis or treatment. So many women hear this and assume that exercise can be harmful during recovery. But research, actually very recent research, has shown the opposite. So it used to be that the doctors would say, well, you want to kind of keep away from doing anything, where you're using your arms for exercise or, doing anything strenuous. But in fact, physical activity plays a vital role in your recovery process. So as you heard Marie say, move it, right? Move it till you lose it. That's kind of, what it is. And, having cancer or not, this is a true a statement. Exercise, especially when it's tailored to an individual's condition, can help against fatigue. It can improve your mood and boost your overall energy levels. So it aids in a lot of things, even reducing the risk of cancer reoccurrence. There's actually been some research on that. Managing the side effects, like the ones that you have heard this evening from treatment, right? And improving mobility, especially after surgeries like mastectomies or lymph node removal. Because what happens is that this whole side, depending on the side that you've had the surgery on, it is pretty sore. It's pretty difficult to move for a while, and it kind of depends on each individual. And so, going back to my client who couldn't be here this evening, uh, you know, after 10 years, she decided she was going to go and start, kind of getting more into her exercising. And she started working with some weights, and all of a sudden she had swelling that happened, right? And so she went to see her specialist, and it was a reaction that she had to whatever it was the exercise that she did, right? Which was very rare. And I wish she was here to tell you all about it, but it ended up being something that was very rare. So what happens when that happens to you? You're like, ugh, I'm not going to do anything, right? So in her case, fast forward, now she's doing great. We are working with resistance training, weights, doing all sorts of strength training to kind of rebuild the muscle mass that she's lost this whole time. And it has also improved her bone density. And this is often affected by chemotherapy and hormone treatments, right? So any strength training can also support your overall physical recovery, right? Again, by enhancing your energy levels, improving your mood, and increasing your range of motion. So like I said, being able to do this takes a long time, right? So being able to have that kind of motion that you once had is a journey. Um, Especially for women that have undergone the surgery. So in our Dance Fit Hub community, we focus a lot on functional fitness, especially for women over 55, and also for women who are recovering from breast cancer. And regaining strength is essential for a return to normal life, right? Or what you now consider to be your normal life, and maintaining those long-term health, basically. So if you or anyone is looking for ways to safely incorporate strength training into recovery or post-treatment routine, I'd be happy to speak to you about that, and to know that there are gentle but effective ways for you to build back your strength. So I wanted to open up the floor to see if anybody had any questions, or maybe they wanted to share something about what they've heard this evening. And yeah, so let's see what we got. So you can unmute if you would like to say something, or don't all unmute at once. Everybody's very shy. Oh.
In the chat, I put down the website for lifewithcancer.org because that might be a very good resource for Melissa as she's getting started with her new foundation.
Okay.
They provide a lot of free classes and anything from education about different aspects of cancer and the journey to art classes. Free hats, free this, free that. They're up in Fairfax, Virginia, Northern Virginia, but they've got a good online presence.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Marie. All right. Well, since you're all being nice and quiet today, I'm assuming that you all join me in thanking Maria and Melissa for their openness and courage in sharing their experiences today, because that was not easy at all. So thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, wait a minute. I found a way to unmute my audio.
Oh, okay.
So hi, this is Carrie. Um, what Melissa was saying about how she doesn't acknowledge the cancer. Sometimes I don't have cancer in my body, that kind of thing. Again, I read after I got diagnosed 35 months ago, I read so much about the placebo effect and different things, and even found out that like a 30% of the time, a placebo effect can really skew the when drugs come to market, they do tests, and sometimes there's like a 30% error in some of these small drug companies because of the placebo effect. And it's always a mind game for me, the cancer, because I'm stage 4. I'm never going to be in remission. I'm never going to be out of treatment. And everything that I can do to battle with my mind helps me. Like even the glass that I drink my water out of to take my pill, it's an Apollo 13 glass. Well, Apollo 13 was the miracle mission. And it's always a mind game. It's a mind game in a negative way too, though, because last week I was in New York, and I woke up one morning and my feet didn't hurt. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder what it is, because my feet always hurt. Well, it turns out, I'm looking at what I do. I hike every day at home, but I wasn't hiking on vacation. So it's like, do I think it's the cancer? Because I know it's in my bones and it's in my liver. And it's really a mind game, and anything I can do to my mind, because I can't do the stuff to my body, but I can do the stuff to my mind. But it's really 35 months now, and I haven't cried, and I haven't broken down. And I got diagnosed as my husband was dying, so I didn't have time to deal with it because I kept him at home. And I don't know. I can relate to Melissa and Maria in a way, but I find that I can take a little bit from each. And that's why I go to a cancer support group, because it's like a fingerprint. Everybody is different.
Correct.
And you can take a little bit of help from everybody who's going through it.
Yes.
So,
And you're exactly right, because I've said this before in a lot of my webinars. Your brain is literally wired to give up. Your brain is literally wired to tell you, I don't like this. Stop trying. Literally. That's what it doesn't want you to have to do anything hard, anything that's going to make you sad, anything at all. So, yes, so that's what happens, right? You get caught up into all the negativeness and all the, I see what you're saying, where you're facing the reality. Yes, it's reality, right? But there are different ways to approach the reality. And so I love and I commend you for having kind of that positive approach on just keeping your mind active and, learning, right? Because if you're not learning, you're not growing. That's what I always say, right?
and I run away too. Like I went to Europe twice this year. When
Awesome.
other time in my life would I go to? And one time it was like the Eastern Danube, like Bulgaria and Romania. Who goes there? I
Well,
did.
you do. You went there.
But it's like I just want to do things, and well, not so much see things. Like I don't care about what I see when I'm on a trip, like but what I do and meet the people and stuff. So having more experiences is really, really nice. So.
Yes. And I love that. I love that because I always say, like, it would be, if I had the perfect life, it would, I mean, I do have a very good life. I'm not saying that I'm not blessed, but if I had like my way, I would definitely take experiences experiences over things, right? And especially that's like what we do with our kids even now. Like I'd rather pay to take them somewhere to experience something or to eat something somewhere, right? Rather than give them something materialistic that they can probably purchase on their own at some point, right? But
Right,
it's definitely those experiences and taking the time to kind of take it all in, the experience, right? To feel it, to touch it, to smell it, right? All of that creates that positive experience for you. And you're probably right. You probably would not have had another, opportunity to do that, right? You probably would have been so caught up in whatever, life was throwing
Yeah,
in
I'll
your
do it
way at the
later.
time.
There's no later anymore.
Yeah. I'll
Exactly.
go later. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's funny because my husband always says, like, why do people say we'll do it later? Why can't we just do it now? What's wrong with doing it now? I said, you're right. There isn't anything wrong with doing it now. He's like, why do we have to retire to do things? And it's true. And that's what I'm constantly, telling the women in our group in the Dance Fit Hub is like, don't wait. Why are you going to wait to get in shape? Why are you going to wait to get healthier? Why do you have to wait? Nobody likes to wait online for anything. So why are you going to wait? Just do it. Just do it. So
Right.
thank you so much, Carrie, for sharing that. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much again for taking time out of your evening to be here. The strength and resilience of Melissa, Marie, and even Carrie, right? It's really just reminds us all that we are not alone in this fight as women, and that the community support, like the ones in the Dance Fit Hub, right, and others that are out there, can make all the difference, right? And how you experience this journey, right? Whether you're going through it, right? Whether you're a patient or whether you're a caregiver, because caregivers also go through a separate journey on their own. And so all of it together, we are not alone. And you should never, ever think that you are alone because there are plenty of support systems out there for you. So thank you all for being part of this important conversation. I'm glad that we have it all out there. And if you have any questions at all on the M Stars Strong Foundation, the email for that is mstars with a Z foundation at mstars strong, sorry, foundation
Yeah.
at gmail.com. And if you'd like any more support on your recovery journey, or if you know of someone, definitely reach out to me and I can tell you what information I can give you on that. So let's continue to support one another and to raise awareness because that is what we need to do. We need to raise the awareness. Remember, ladies in here, 1 in 8. I will leave you with that number. Always think of that number behind your head. We are not just raising awareness in October, but every day. Every day for these women that have been so courageous to share their stories with you and to let you know that they have fought the fight, they're fighting the fight, and they will still continue to fight to enjoy their lives for whatever is left for all of us, right? Because any day is not promised for either with cancer, without cancer. We cannot take it for granted. So if there's something out there that you want to do it. That's what I say. Don't wait. Put it on a credit card and go for it. 5 seconds.
And you pay for it.
Yeah. I always say the 5-second rule. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Click and go for it. Go for it. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.